Hi, I'm Selena, and this is Billy Lectura. Everything's been stressful lately, and I'm not just talking about my individual stress, but if you haven't been online on social media, or maybe not even online, just watch the news, everything's been stressful. 2020 memes aside, every month feels like a historical moment, and it's overwhelming. It's not as fun as it sounds to live through history. Most of you who are watching right now is probably someone like me, someone who has privilege, someone who has access to the internet, someone who's safe at home, or just have a roof above your head. And having privilege is not really a bad thing, you know? I know that it gets bad reputation. The phrase check your privilege is very rampant, and you should check your privilege. We're going through a pandemic. In the Philippines, we have an incompetent government system, a big prominent media company is being shut down, and now we're going through an anti-terrorist bill, which sounds nice, but if you think about it, it limits our freedom of expression and dissent towards the government. And dissent is not a form of terrorism. Activism is not supposed to be an act of terrorism. Being able to speak your mind is so important to us. Our people, our history has fought for that freedom. Aside from that, even before this pandemic, we have been going through a lot of extrajudicial killings and poverty. And now, if you look at the other side of the world, people are getting killed because of their race. Come on, guys, it's 2020, not 1920s. And of course, police brutality and abuse of power. Not just in the other side of the world, but also here in our own country, in the Philippines. Everyone has their own story of how are they going through these times. Everyone is going through their own story in this moment of history. Having privilege means that you're just one of the lucky ones, I guess. It's really overwhelming, and it's taking a toll on everyone's mental health. Not just for people who are going through mental health issues, but everyone in general. It's a very stressful time to be alive right now. It's so paralyzing to think about everything that's going on in this world, because if you think about it, you already have your own set of existing problems by yourself. And if you think even bigger and think about the world's problems, you just feel so small and helpless, and it's just so frustrating to think about it all the time. But you know what? It's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to be scared. I'm scared too. Nothing is really certain during these times, and it's so easy to feel helpless and hopeless even. You just kind of feel powerless, Everyone has their own way of coping, and everyone has their own way of helping. And perhaps this is my own way of doing so. I'm not trying to be one of those mindfulness preachy people. I'm just here doing what I can. I'm a creative, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm a storyteller. And so today, I'll be talking about the importance of storytelling in our current society. We live in an era where information is available practically everywhere. And so, because of this, fake news has become rampant, and problematic stories are dominating trends and our feeds and our walls, and it's just frustrating to see. As director Marlon Rivera once said in a webinar on storytelling, you can't win arguments over the internet. You just have to make better stories to drown out the noise. And that has really resonated with me, not just as a creative or as a storyteller, but as a person. Because it's true. Always trying to win arguments over the internet, it just creates more noise, and you have to think about it, if it's even worth it. If people are even listening. And so maybe what you should do is challenge yourself, Make better stories, louder stories, more important stories, stories of every kind. And I'm not just talking about fictional ones, but also documentaries and true to life stories, Even if it's for entertainment purposes, sense of comfort, inspiration, or even self expression. At the end of the day, it's your truth to be told. Don't let people steal your own narratives. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be represented, but maybe it's time to stop asking for people to represent us, and maybe it's time that we claim our own narratives and represent ourselves, because they have this tendency to represent us in the way they perceive us. And the way they perceive us is not always going to be accurate. We have to be better. We have to be informed. We need to educate ourselves, broaden our perspective. We need to learn how to ask the right questions, when to use our voice and when to stay silent, to amplify the voices of those who need to be heard. Amplify the voices of the minority and support them. In the current age of social media and the internet, and this age of information, we have to see this as an opportunity to have history written by the people and not by the winners, not by those who dictate the history long before we have lived. It doesn't have to be grand. It starts at home. Explain it to your relatives, to your family, to the kids. How would you explain the pandemic? How would you explain the political killings, the hatred? How would you explain everything to a 5-year-old kid? Not just in the present, but also in the future. Storytelling are not just for artists and writers. It's for everyone. Storytelling has been the foundation of our society, our history, and it's what lives on throughout our history, in our future, and for the generations to come. It's important to have that story preserved, the truth that you want to be told.